It's important to understand that very early on, and one of the, I think, hottest debates right now is whether or not the microorganisms actually are already existing at the time of delivery and or if they start at the time of delivery. But what defines the infant intestinal microbiota? Because it's very flexible and variable at that particular point in time, and lots of factors can influence normal or not so normal microbiome. So things like C-section delivery, or babies who are born prematurely and stay in the NICU, whether or not they're breastfed or they're formula fed, or exposed to antibiotics, all have a negative impact on the microflora, resulting in higher pathogenic bacteria, and at least for the microbiome, where diversity is good, decreasing the diversity of the microbial species. Having a positive impact on the microbiota, shown on the right side of this slide, are things like vaginal delivery, breastfeeding, having a pet in the house, siblings, daycare, and farm exposure. For example, a child born in the house with a dog or a cat is less likely to develop dog or cat dander allergies later on in life than a child that's born into a house without a pet and then they decide to get one later on. That microbiome of the child in which the pet is introduced later is more at risk, whether or not they have a family history of allergies, of developing allergies to pet dander. So those factors that have a positive impact on the microbiota result in a higher beneficial bacteria and increased diversity, which helps enrich the overall immune system. Now, this is all set in context, particularly in which, for the gastrointestinal tract, what infants are fed. And breastfeeding really needs to be considered, no pun intended, the gold standard of infant feeding. Breastfeeding is an ideal way to nourish an infant, and it provides support to both mom and the infant in the following ways. There's a nutritional and a functional component with respect to breastfeeding. So working from a functional standpoint on oral pharyngeal mechanics, and then the function, if you will, of what happens with breast milk, and then a nutritional component with respect to multiple factors in enhancing the nutrition of the infant early in life. There's a psychosocial component, bonding between mother and child, and a very important, and I'm going to touch on this later, an immunologic component that's important. So in essence then, breastfeeding really is the gold standard.